Today on episode 103 of Typical Chicago Fans, we have Sinkers and Floaters, the TCF Sports Minute, Ideas Under the Influence, Over and Unders Lawn Care Edition, and the TCF Top 3 of non-Chicago sports logos. Let's roll. Hello and welcome to episode 103 of Typical Chicago Fans. It is me, Boomy, on Twitter at BoomyTCF. Make sure to follow the main page at typical_Chicago on Twitter. Head over to Facebook and Instagram. Type in Typical Chicago Fans. Give those pages a like and a follow. Head on over to our YouTube page as well. Subscribe there for all of our content in video form. Make sure to subscribe, rate, and review on Apple Podcasts. Follow us on Spotify, Spreaker, Google Podcasts. Wherever you get podcasts, you can find us there. But most importantly, make sure that you follow the guys that I'm joined with tonight. That is Zach at ZLiliaTCF and Maddie at schools_01. Boys, episode 103. How are we doing today?
We're doing good. We were just talking before the show started how we had a little bit of a storm. Would have been Sunday night, more towards Maddie's area, but it was a strong storm here.
Yeah.
What I always judge it off of this time of year, it's going to sound funny, but if the corn is kind of beaten down a little bit, that means it was a bad storm.
Yeah, I looked out in my backyard and the first 5 or 6 rows of corn were almost laid down, with the ground. And that's, like you said, Zach, that's a pretty good indication that it was gnarly out here. I think we even had a bird get kind of caught up in the wind and smoked into our house last night because we had a dead bird behind our house.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, so that was not a fun cleanup. Maddie, how'd things get up by you, buddy?
We had sirens going off. We had got a little dicey there for a little bit. I think there was tornado activity a little bit east of us, and then obviously the one in Naperville, which is about 15-20 miles southeast of me. So that one wasn't too close, but it was definitely an interesting night weather-wise. Made for a nice cap to Father's Day. I'm a storm guy, but then when you got to wake the kid up because there's sirens going off, kind of sucks in that regard. But
is it me? Or does it seem like this is the latest in the year that we've gotten our first really bad storm? Usually we get one.
Usually get an April or a May, a punch in the face. Yep. Then you always get the August roundhouse. That August you'll get a week of it, where it's just bad for 2 or 3 days in a row.
But I think we've been in a pretty big rain drought, so it's been a while.
Sure.
So
yeah, you could have set fire to my yard there last week at one point. Before I got some sprinklers out there. It was bad. It got really bad, dude.
At least it was nice to get some rain, but would have rather not gotten the severe weather.
Dropped a bunch of money on flowers this weekend, and they did not hold up real well last night. We'll just say that.
Oh, no.
Yeah, tough time to keep flowers alive.
Yeah.
No, for sure. Well, we hope everyone out there that was affected by those storms, like you guys said, in the Naperville area, hope everything is, with cleanup goes well. And, thinking about everyone, obviously those big tornado storms are scary as can be. But let's jump into our regularly scheduled programming, leading off, of course, sinkers and floaters. And boys, do I have a sinker for you guys? Because my sinker is RVs. So yesterday I was coming home from the Romeoville, Joliet area, and I was on I-80 about 3 miles east of Minooka. And there was an RV, maybe it was a fifth wheel tow behind, whatever. But there was some cars around it, maybe somewhere between a quarter and a half mile ahead of me. And I see all the cars their brakes start to go off. And I'm like, oh, it's a cop. There was a ton of cops out yesterday. I just assumed they were going by a cop. The awning on the right side of the RV opens up while they're flying down the interstate, opens all the way up. And then before it closes, the awning snapped off of the RV, flew into the air, and landed on the interstate in front of me. It was covering both the left-hand and the right-handed lanes and half of the shoulder on the right. Luckily, there was no one around me, so I get over onto the shoulder, to go around it, and it still wasn't enough. I had to go down. My right side wheels were down in the ditch. My left side wheels were on the shoulder. I pulled like 20 yards up in front of it, and before I even thought about it, I jumped out of the car and ran back to it. Right as I'm about to get to it, this little Chevy Cruze hits it going full speed. Didn't really do much to it apparently because it kept going, and there was a lull in traffic after that. So I just started pulling this awning off of the interstate, and it was way heavier than I thought it was. It was probably like 25 feet long, probably weighed over 100 pounds, and I just reeled it off of the interstate and somehow got it into the ditch.
By yourself?
By myself, yeah. Got it pulled off. I mean, people are saying that. That's a rumor on the streets. I'm not saying it, but I might have saved someone's life. I don't know, but yeah, it was one of the weird. And the RV never braked. I never saw him pull over. They're gonna get home probably last night, and we're like, "Where's the awning?" And little do they know. Hopefully, they listen to this podcast. It's about 3 miles east of the Minooka exit on I-80.
Boomy saved the day.
It was
great
That's
work
a great
on the
story.
highway department there too, Booney. Usually it's like people are clearing like dead carcasses of coyotes and deer and stuff, but now our guys just pulling off awnings from a motorhome.
Yeah,
definitely nicer than a lot of people. Definitely people would not do that.
I just know because I've hit potholes and stuff on the interstate. I've hit different things that, or even just plastic, things that are in wheel wells, and man, they can. I think I told this story when I blew out 2 tires on 294 because of potholes, and you have to sit there. I mean, I was there for 2.5 hours waiting for assistance to get my stuff fixed, and that car that hit it. I mean, it was I was maybe 10 feet from it, and the Chevy Cruze hit it just probably doing 70, and I was like, man, if something hits that wrong, that's a bad bill on that. So didn't even think about it. It was one of those from the time it happened to the time I got back onto the interstate was probably less than 2 minutes.
Good work, Boomy. Good work. My sinker kind of goes off of the severe weather and stuff. Losing electricity. It is a weird feeling. I for 5 seconds today lost mine I have no idea why. But it is storm season, so you'll most likely the lights will flicker a little bit at some point. You maybe lose a little power. I don't like that feeling. You're just like, what am I going to do?
Yeah. You're helpless.
I'm helpless. I can't watch TV. I can't go on the internet. We'll go on my phone for a little bit, but
it's about the worst thing on the planet anymore. If you don't have electricity, what do you have? I mean,
you might as well be stranded on an island.
Yes, you might as well.
And that might even be better because when you're in your house, you're used to having, certain things. At least if you were on an island, you wouldn't expect to have electricity.
AC in the summer is about as necessary as water. And yes. there's no arguing that at this point. So it's just.
And then you really notice it once you don't have it. You're like, oh my gosh, is it getting hot in here? Is it hot in here?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's brutal.
Every time you open the door, you just feel it's like a furnace just blowing more and more hot air into that house, and nothing you can do about it except for sweat your ass off. Yeah,
because you can go get a fan or
good luck on that one. My sinker, boys. It's a new summer. It's a new suburban neighborhood rival for me, and this year it is voles. Last year was birds. This year it's voles, and I didn't know what a vole was until I started seeing all these little tracks in my yard and these small holes. They look just like little zigzag tracks. Well, I start looking into what the hell's causing this problem, and apparently they're voles, and they're these little. They look like mice.
And they're like chipmunk-looking things, right?
No, they look straight up like mice, dude. Actually, they look like a mouse, and they're kind of they live under mulch beds and under porches, under the ground a little bit. They'll burrow these little holes and they feed off grass and your plants and shit. They start just tearing everything up. Everything is torn up. I got nice bushes that are dying. I got flowers that are dying. We got grass that's getting chewed up. So now we got a pest guy come to, start treating this shit. So voles. If you start seeing little tracks in your yard, this is your housing and homeowner tip of the day, boys. If you start seeing little tracks through your yard, get it taken care of right away. Right away.
So I have the issue with the tracks and the holes, but I have these little like chipmunk looking things that I've exterminated from my yard. But
maybe it could be a combination because I've seen the little groundhogs we've got too. But these things are like literally moving like our retaining wall brick and shit, dude. Like these things are not messing around. It's wild.
You got voles on steroids, wild.
I think we got like I hope none of my neighbors are. I hope we think we might have like central colony under our porch, possibly. Is what I'm afraid of. So, you don't see them either. It's very rare when you see them. Only like if you step outside real quick and you catch them, they start scurrying back under the mulch bed. That's
those little yard pests are the word. We've got a family of rabbits terrorizing our little mulch bed with my wife's plants and all her decorations and things. So
that shit's expensive too.
No, it's not a fun thing to deal with. That is for sure. My floater, on the other hand, is Bloomies Bombers softball team. This is going to be a kiss of death. We've been playing much better lately. Split with Zach's team last week, an improbable win. Poor Zach got hit on a line drive, but Zach also unfortunately got robbed of a home run that he almost hit off me. But we picked up a win, split the second game, lost in the top of the seventh, bottom of the seventh, either one, lost by one. We're playing well, probably just great leadership from the team captain and the manager. But yeah, we picked up a big win last week. We might have talked about the odds, covered the spread. In the first game, didn't take care of business in the second game. So the old softball team's hanging in there. We got 4 wins, which I think is 2 more than we got last year. So improvement.
Good for you. My floater is live events. Live events are back. Concerts are back. It's awesome. I saw Dave Chappelle, the Foo Fighters brought him out at Madison Square Garden. I mean, we haven't seen this in a year and a half probably. We're ready for just awesome concerts, awesome concert moments on the internet, going viral again. We're back. We are back.
Like just the small like neighborhood festivals and shit like that. Like just even that kind of stuff where there's some live music and some food outside.
It feels like the energy is back in the world again.
Yeah, I don't even need the monsters. Just like where people can just get out and just I don't know, man. It just feels like we've been bundled up for like 2 years now. It feels like sucks.
Yeah, I obviously we talked. We're doing our Colorado trip and trying to hit some different games, and we went to the Cubs game last week.
Red Rocks while you guys are out there.
What'd you say?
So you guys got to hit Red Rocks while you're out
there.
Oh,
absolutely. That's one of my favorite places to go to. That's for sure. And Garden of the Gods, if you haven't been out there, that's another good one. But I also bought my first concert tickets to one of my favorite rock bands. So I'm right there with you, Zach. It's good to have live events, and obviously sporting events we've talked about a million times, but concerts and comedy and stuff like that is great to have that stuff back.
I hear you. Well, boys, I'm going to stick to sports on my floater, and this week because we're typically I think going to talk Cubs and Sox, so I'm going to stick to baseball. It's not going to be Cubs or Sox related though. It's going to be Jacob deGrom, and that guy is putting together what might be the greatest pitching season of all time.
He may be the greatest pitcher of all time.
It's basically he's becoming like Chuck Norris on social media at this point with the things that are like that you could say about him in stats. Listen to these numbers here on just some random stuff that I found and I just kind of perused the internet about him. His ERA 0.50, Major League Baseball average 4.12. His WHIP 0.51. Major League Baseball average 1.28. His strikeouts per 9 inning 14.6. And Major League average 9.2. It gets better, boys. He's now gone 12 straight starts with 1 or 0 earned runs allowed, breaking a tie with Bob Gibson in 1968 for the longest streak within a single season since earned runs became official. He hasn't allowed a run in his last 30 innings. That's from ESPN Stats and Info. Here's another one. 117 strikeouts on the season, 4 earned runs allowed. First
It's unreal what he's doing. It is literally unreal what he's doing.
First pitcher since the earned run became an official stat in both leagues in 1913 with 110 strikeouts and fewer than 5 earned runs. Here you go. Here's another one though. He's gained 5 miles an hour average fastball velocity between last season and this season.
How does that happen? How does that happen?
As of June 12th, his average fastball four-seam velocity was 99.1 miles per hour, tops in the league. That's insane.
That's
and let's see.
Nuts
this was
last.
He is. Let's see. His slowest fastball thrown this season, 95.6 on April 17th. Slowest. His slowest fastball is still higher than 234 pitchers' average fastball velocities this season. Hope all these people that I quoted on Twitter are correct, because these are just some wild numbers. But it's insane. I also want to throw out one more thing on baseball, too. Tonight, the Dodgers, this being Monday night, the Dodgers are on the road in San Diego, and they are an underdog for the first time in 623 days, 150 games since they were plus money dogs. They close or open the game at plus 115 against Yu Darvish and the Padres. Thought that was pretty neat.
That's unbelievable. That doesn't sound
believe that. I could not believe that it's been that long.
Yeah, pretty crazy. Baseball is the best for just wild numbers and just like things that make your brain explode. It really is, because there's just so much shit there's so much tracking in baseball statistically and all the different different metrics nowadays too. Like anything can basically be created into a new stat anymore. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
That is absurd. What a season, man! And hopefully, we talked to Frank a couple of times, and
and he was today was the first pitcher to get strip searched for illegal.
Yeah.
How long do you guys think that's gonna last? Sorry, Boomy, but how long do you think that's gonna last? Like every time you come off the mound, like the first time, is it you have to get checked?
It's a joke. It really is.
It seemed like when a relief pitcher went in, like when he came in from that inning, they checked him.
Yeah.
So then, I'm guessing the starting pitcher.
I think it was at the end. It was at the end of the first inning each game, I believe.
So that's just.
I can't imagine they're doing it every inning.
No, not for the starting pitchers, but if there's a new pitcher every inning.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I think every pitcher gets checked.
Yeah, they're gonna have to start doing a checker, like a fifth umpire.
But pace of play, boys. Pace of play. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, seriously, what a joke.
Let's make the game more exciting to watch.
I don't get it.
Baseball's
got a marketing problem more than anything. Let's put it that way.
They can't get out of their own way, to say the least. But speaking of baseball and speaking of sports, let's jump into our TCF Sports Minute. We're still leading off. Cubs sitting at 40-32, currently down 4-0 as we record this. Boys, they're 5-5 in their last 10 and are somehow still in first place. What do you guys make of what's happened the last week with the Cubs since their sweep of the Cardinals at Wrigley?
It's been tough. Those first two games against the Marlins, that was bad. They got whooped. I think they lost a combined 25-2.
Yeah, something like that. The Marlins just seem to have the Cubs number, man.
Unreal, but they got the last game of the series, didn't get swept. Like I said, they're losing right now 4-0. If you guys watched the game, I think it was Javi thought there was 3 outs and ended up turning that double play, and then they pulled him after that.
Yeah. That was a base running gap that you just can't. You can't. That's inexcusable. Completely inexcusable.
What are your guys' thoughts on that, though? Do you think that was a good move, or do you think that's just like Rossi trying to? I don't know. I don't know what to really think of it. It was pretty early in the game.
I think it's one of those moves that you're going to make to probably say, hey, we haven't been playing well the last Like Boomy said, the last 10 games, 5-5 in the last 10 games, kind of
Yeah.
spinning their wheels at 500 there. We're coming off a hot month, before that in May. So I think it might be one of those things where he's kind of just saying, hey, we got to light a fire somewhere and maybe rattle a cage here and there. And there's a good opportunity to try to do it. Didn't seem like it happened because the bats have been ice cold as we've seen all night. And just unfortunately goes through spells with this team too much, is where they just kind of go ice cold for a couple weeks hitting wise, and
just leaving too many guys
be susceptible
on
to
base.
some of these games. It really is. The clutch hitting, it just goes in
Yeah,
spells for this team. It's
it
frustrating.
seems like that's how it always goes when the Cubs start to struggle. Is they leave a lot of guys on base.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Boomy.
It definitely feels like it's one of those, like, maybe a teaching moment, because like you said, the team's been sliding just a little bit, maybe try to rewrite the ship and say, hey, listen, like, this stuff, it can't happen, because, and I think we can all agree to this, like, the biggest frustration is that the rest of the division is not playing well right now. You have a perfect time to capitalize. No. If you can, I mean, the Marlins are in last place in the NL East. They're not a very good base.
I want to say one team that's playing a little bit better is the Reds. Have kind of gotten back into the race a little bit lately. Kind of playing a little bit better baseball before they ran into this Padres team. But that's a team to start worrying about a little bit too, just because they can just unload on the ball.
Well, yeah, and I think that's what's frustrating is, like, you see, it seems to be in the NL Central that, like, it almost takes shifts as to who's going to be the hot team of the week. And, like, when you do like that, you have an opportunity to gain ground on someone, and they're just not taking full advantage of it.
Well, yeah, it was like the Cubs and Brewers were winning back to back. They both kept winning, and then when one of them loses, the other one loses. Like, neither of the teams are making up any ground right now. In the Cubs case, if they could have won 2 of 3 against the Marlins or something like that, taking a game lead or something, it's just little things at the end of the season that you're going to look back at and be like, I wish they could have taken advantage of this.
Yeah, I think that's
definitely
got to be the frustrating part right now. And, hopefully, we could talk at hours on what they could do, what they should do at the trade deadline. But at the end of the day, that's still, a month and a half.
At this point, it's just a wait and see. You have no idea what they're going to do. They could sell, they could buy. You don't know.
Exactly. It's all up in the air right now.
We all want them to be buyers at the deadline, get some good pitching, but you just don't know.
Nailed it. The White Sox, on the other hand, lead the AL Central by 2.5 games right now. Let's see. They were
off got swept by Houston, though.
Tough series in Houston. Does it, from an outsider's perspective, does it worry you looking at the White Sox and the struggles they've had against good teams? I mean, they get swept by the Yankees. They've been swept by the Astros. Does that worry Sox fans a little bit when you start talking about, obviously they're leading the division. The hope is to be in the playoffs. Does losing series like that worry you when it comes to thinking about the future?
I guess
at some point. No, I'm sorry, Zach. Go ahead.
I guess it's always one of those things you don't want to be swept by anybody, but if you're going to get swept, at least just by a good team. But no, you don't want to be in any of those spots. You want to be winning series or at least splitting series against good teams. Getting swept is just not a good feeling, especially against a team that you'll see maybe in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's definitely gives at least a bad taste in your mouth, to say the least. But it's one of those things too. I think with this team, the injuries are going to have to start catching up at some point. You would think. Now Madrigal's out for the year. Eloy's starting to get a little bit of activity. It sounds like it's making some progress, but he's still a little ways off. Abreu definitely hasn't been what he was last year. It's kind of playing a little bit more like the guy that they question whether they should give.
Have you guys seen
things like that a couple of years ago?
Mercedes' stats the last 2 months?
Well, not great.
Well, they take it back to what his stats were before he got where Tony La Russa got mad about that 3-0 count to after. I think he's down to like 170.
Oof.
Yeah, that's rough.
And it's rough. That's going to happen with a guy who's kind of breaking in. He's going to, have his ups and downs. He's got to be able to find that, that
I'm
high.
curious. I'm curious who they're going to be a player for at the deadline. I really think that they could solidify themselves as the favorite in the American League with maybe the right one or two moves to kind of maybe shore up the pen, get another outfielder they could probably use as well. It's the team is they're going to be able to hit, especially when Robert gets back and when Eloy's back and Madrigal's done for the year, I believe, the torn hammy, but they're going to have hitters, and Andrew Vaughn's really starting to hit, and they're going to be dangerous. I think you just got to fortify that roster a little bit, and get ready for October.
He had surgery on his hamstring. Oh
yeah, oh my Lord.
Oh my.
You think when you pull it, like how bruised it gets, and like that pooling and everything that gets there. Could you imagine when it tears, how bad that gets?
No.
That's just got to be disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. That guy was really starting to play well for
that.
Them
Makes
too.
me
really,
never
really
want to run. I don't ever want to run because that could happen. That could
That's
happen.
Only for getting chased, dude.
Yeah, seriously. I had a good conversation with my brother-in-law about the White Sox, and he said he brought up a name in a possible trade that is something to ponder, and I wonder what your guys' thoughts. But maybe packaging Kopech for either an outfielder or a second baseman, because I think right now you could get a big haul. He's still 23 years old.
I understand that, but I feel like they want to see what can happen with him.
I think he's a front end rotation type pitcher.
Yeah, I'm not saying you're not right, Boomy, but I think they kind of want to see what he can be over the next few years. They want to see what he can be as a starter maybe before they trade him. But you're right, though. He's in a spot, though, where his trade value is pretty high because he's coming out of the bullpen and he looks good in the short amount of time that he's been in with being the reliever, but I think
Crochet might be a more likely candidate from the pitching staff.
If you're the White Sox, though, I'd want to see that out. But some other teams will probably give you some good value for him right now, just going off what he could be.
Yeah, for sure. You can get a haul for him.
Yeah, I totally understand what you mean, Boomy.
It's kind of one of those where you're sacrificing a long-term ace for a guy who's ready to maybe carry a lineup right now. Where you're looking for somebody to make a franchise impact when you deal a Kopech. I think so. That's what you'd have to be looking at. I think you could probably. I don't even think the Cubs would require that much if the Cubs got into sell mode. I don't think they would get a Kopech back for anybody just because of the contracts that they're dealing. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
expiring deals. So I think you get the. Like Scherzer, he's on an expiring deal, so it's not like you're going to have to give up, one of those kind of electric arms, but it'll be interesting. They got so much young talent they can deal.
Without a doubt. Let's jump into some NBA talk. We are in the conference finals. In the West, we have the Suns. They are up 1-0 on the Clippers after a 121-14 win on Sunday without Chris Paul. Very good win. And the Eastern Conference finals have been set. Probably not the two teams that everybody expected. We got the Hawks and the Bucks. Guys, the process is absolutely dead. What the hell happened to Philadelphia?
Ben Simmons shot 30% from the free throw line.
There's a sick pass underneath the hoop, though.
That's awful. Yeah, that was crazy.
A sick pass leading to a 1 point.
And then Joel Embiid after the game goes, one of the turning points in this game was when we had a wide open layup, passed the ball, the guy got fouled,
resulted in one
and then
free throw.
he made one free throw.
Right. Yeah, resulted in 1 point.
Yeah.
So lost time, lost possession.
In that moment, you were just like, okay, his confidence is gone.
Yeah, without a doubt.
And then Doc Rivers comes out today going, "Oh, we're gonna work on his shooting. We're gonna work really hard on his shooting skills this offseason." It's like, what? Like, wow, it's just now a problem?
You didn't know this? You didn't watch any game film before? Like, you didn't know that Ben Simmons was prone to doing this?
Unbelievable.
The fact he went 4 games, the last 4 games of the series without a shot in the fourth quarter is just that is mind blowing. So you don't just accidentally throw something up.
I think it was a game 5. It was Joel Embiid and Seth Curry were the only ones to make a field goal in the fourth quarter or the second half.
Second half.
That's a conscious decision to say I'm not going to shoot. I'm not going to shoot.
And he did do a lot of things. I'll give him credit. He had a ton of assists, but like when you're the second leading scorer on the team, you've got to contribute in the fourth quarter of playoff games. It's as plain as simple as that.
Right.
But I'm excited to see this the Eastern Conference Finals with the Hawks
different
and
teams this year.
Bucks.
I love it.
Yeah, Trae Young playing so well, even though he didn't have the greatest game per se. He stayed confident.
Rough first 3 quarters.
He hit a big shot.
You said it exactly. He stayed confident. He never wavered. He struggled early. Kind of just, he was the opposite. He's literally the opposite of Ben Simmons.
5 for 23 from the field.
Yeah, and it shows. That's the team that makes the difference and wins. You know what I mean? Like it's the guy that. So the aggressor is always going to seem to come out on top in a situation like that.
In the West, the Suns just look like a freight train right now. And if they get CP3 back, I think that they've got just as good a shot, to win this thing as it is.
Yeah,
but man,
I don't see Kawhi being back for the Clippers.
That's huge, obviously.
Yeah, because with the ACL injury. But yeah, I think I don't know if it's going to be a sweep. It may be a gentleman's sweep, but I think that the Suns will be moving on. And we'll have to. I think the Eastern Conference Finals will be exciting. I think it'll go hopefully get 7 games if we're lucky.
I think that Milwaukee will handle Atlanta pretty easily, but I really want to see Atlanta Phoenix in the finals. I think that's my dream scenario. But man, I think
see what you mean, Boomy, but I think that I know the Nets are good, but I think that the Hawks, they're physical and they want to make the game a little physical, and I don't think Giannis likes that.
Stud.
Giannis.
I don't disagree. I just don't know if Clint Capella and Collins are enough to stop Giannis.
I don't know. They're not going to stop him, but John Collins is a productive offensive player too. He's somebody they're going to have to worry about. If Herder's going to, be that kind of a threat outside, I don't know, man. Gallinari's not a bad scorer either.
Coming off the bench,
Atlanta's got some guys that can get buckets and spurts, and I think that kind of thing is really tough to defend, especially in the playoffs. And when you start getting those leads that melt away in the regular season that the NBA is kind of infamous for, doesn't work that way in the playoffs. So teams are going to step on their throat. They're not pulling guys. They're not sitting guys for 8 minutes on end. They're best players in the playoffs. It's do or die time now. So guys are going to play. And I don't know. I think it's one of those things where I don't know. I just love seeing the different teams. It's really fun this year. It's just gotten me way more into it than in previous years. I'm pretty jacked about it.
And like I said, if we're lucky, we get Game 7.
Yeah, give me as much games. Give me 3 more Game 7s. I'm good.
Yep. 100%, man. Absolutely, Maddie. What's going on in the NHL?
Well, we got another couple good series there.
How about Tampa Bay?
Oh my God! That was a steamrolling tonight over the Islanders. That one was not good for the boys on Long Island.
Did I see?
8-0. Take a 3-2 lead in the series and get ready to go to the Stanley Cup final. I think the Lightning are shaping up for a back-to-back run. On the other side, though, we got another doozy, and that's
hey, real quick, Matt. What the hell was Marc-Andre Fleury doing? Was that Friday night where he basically just gave Montreal a free goal?
Your guess is as good as mine. That's why I lost.
What are you doing? That guy's probably a Hall of Fame goal, right?
I don't know about Hall of Fame, but he's probably. I don't know about Hall of Fame. I wouldn't say, but he's definitely one of the better goalies of the era, no question. Like, I will say that. He's definitely
If
one of the
NHL Hall of Fame was as easy to get in as the Basketball Hall of Fame, he'd be in, right?
maybe. I'll say
Okay.
maybe.
But that's just one of the biggest.
Because he went through a spell. He's lost his job a few times. Like he's had some. He had a few years in Pittsburgh where he was like kind of fell off the table. Whereas like Carey Price, from Montreal is just now we're seeing why he is a Hall of Famer. And he's kind of putting that team on his back a little bit, not a little bit, a lot. But like I was saying with that Montreal and that Montreal series with Vegas is two teams that are just slugging each other in the face. It's just grind them out. It's physical hockey. It's get a cheapy goal when you can get one like that. Like Montreal did to tie it up. And, but a team like Vegas, they're so relentless on the puck. We saw that against the Hawks the last couple of years. Get an easy game winner like they got last night in overtime, and all of a sudden you can kind of get a hold of a series pretty easily. They're the better team. I think Montreal. I think their shit might be kind of starting to run out a little bit. I think I don't think you can ride momentum forever. But like I said, Carey Price is standing on his head, and Tyler Toffoli is like really making a name for himself as like an offensive player in the NHL. It's not a lot of guys, it's a guy not a lot of people talk about, know about. Really productive player everywhere he's been, and now like he's kind of the offensive driving force for Montreal right now. So, it's kind of cool to see things like that.
Is it Suzuki, I think, the defenseman? I watched the game on Friday night, and he was just laying down in front of everything. He deflected like an absurd amount of shots for what they needed at the time, and I would think that was an overtime, and I think he took 2 down really quickly. That they had, I don't know if they were good advantages or whatever, but I think that series is going 7. They just, like you said, they keep throwing haymakers at each other.
Vegas tying up the series with it's an overtime win the other night on Sunday night was that would have been catastrophic if they lost that game. And I think this is the kind of game that kind of propels a team that's poised to make a cup run. And that's exactly what they are. They've been knocking on the door since they came into the league. They've been one of the better franchises since they came in. And I think they're the type of team, they have that makeup that could give Tampa Bay fits on the other side too. Where I think like between them and Colorado are probably the 2 best teams on that side of the bracket. I think Colorado might not have been able to slow down Tampa. I think Vegas plays such a mucky game where they can kind of, chunk it up a little bit, not make things so easy for Tampa. So I just think they're kind of they're poised to get out of this series and give us what we need with Vegas and Tampa.
One last thing on hockey: is there any chance the Blackhawks get Eichel from Buffalo?
I don't know. Chief laid it out on Twitter how they could get the dream scenario is Eichel and Seth Jones. I think, to be perfectly honest, I think Seth Jones is the more important player for what the Hawks need. I think they need a defenseman. He's a bona fide number 1 plug and go, stud defenseman, going to contend for a Norris Trophy type level guy. And that's what they need as a defenseman. Big, he's a future captain type player. Son of a professional athlete. So he's got the right makeup of what you want to see. Jack Eichel, though, is a bona fide number 1 all-world, stud center. If you're going to give him up, it's going to take Kirby Dach. It's going to take Kirby Dach. It's going to take Boqvist. It's going to take probably a first-rounder to get a guy like Eichel, would be my guess. I think you could get Jones for maybe a little less. I don't know, maybe a little, not much. I think they're neck and neck for the 2 best players available, in my opinion.
Be interesting to see what happens in the offseason.
Get one, and I'm thrilled. Get one and keep Kirby Dach, and I'm really thrilled. Ultimately,
that would, I think, might be wishful thinking, but we'll see. We'll see with.
You need 2 centers. That's if Taves is coming back. They need to have another center. So you can only give up Dach if you're getting Eichel back, in my opinion. You can't give up Dach to get Jones.
Gotcha. Good point. Good point. Boys, anything else in our sports minute? John Rahm with the big come from behind win yesterday at the U.S. Open.
You rarely see a guy who is supposed to win the tournament.
Yeah.
But if you I was listening to some stuff today on like sports podcast that he's won there before. Like it's almost like a home course to him.
Yeah.
He got married there too.
Yeah.
Pretty sure he got married there.
Mm-hmm. So
yeah, that was cool to see.
Cool.
Awesome
Pretty
to
cool.
see,
Hell of a finish at 17 and 18 for him too, with 2 birdie
was
putts
just
like
an
that.
awesome
My
tournament.
God,
That putt on 18 was absurd.
How
That
many
was
good
just
golfers
ice
were
cold.
in contention was awesome.
That's what I'm glad you said that, Zach. I was just thinking that how like on all the recent majors where it's just been the leaderboard's been loaded with like all the studs lately.
Yeah.
Like every major, like it's just golf is in really good.
And also seeing Bryson DeChambeau get a quadruple bogey.
Little snowman, that was rough.
He was doing stuff on that hole that I do during golf.
Yeah, I thought the same thing.
He stole one out of the sand across the green into the.
It's like when you're watching, you're like, I do that. I do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had a mental
like once a round. They do it like once every 3 months. But that was fun to see John Rahm after what happened on June 5th when he had to withdraw after 3 rounds. I think I saw that he lost $1.6 million from having to withdraw from that, but he turned around and won 2.25 on Sunday. So little poetic justice, good karma there at the end. Let's move into our first segment, and that is ideas under the influence. Zach, I know you've always got good ones of these. I'd lead us off with a winner here.
I've been thinking they need to take a dispensary and a bar and put them together.
Yeah.
Drinking a little bit, you want to go home, get your pot on the way out.
It's not bad.
Am I wrong?
Or just a dispensary bar. Just
like
whatever you want.
Like the cafes in Amsterdam.
Yeah.
There you go. You can smoke inside.
Yeah. So
they got the air filtration systems. You can.
Oh yeah, we'll have it.
Make it work.
We'll have great airflow.
Yeah,
I'd invest. Let's take Shark Tank.
You sit down, you drink a beer, you go, hey, can I get a joint, please? They give it to you. Boom, you smoke the joint right there. Boom.
You call an Uber, you get home safely, everybody wins.
Yes, you're calling the Uber or you're walking home. Boom.
Yeah, just people are gonna say, oh well, to partake and then
so basically
bars are
basically your idea under the influence. Your idea under the influence is to just get further under the influence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I like it.
I see how
totally on board with
intertwined.
totally on board with that one. Well, here's Zach. I'm going to piggyback off yours because I think I got one that'll play right into that. Because when you're leaving a bar, you're leaving a dispensary bar. What you're going to want is some food.
Ooh.
And mine is, here we go. I got a food truck, and it's not your common food truck product. I'm going to do a baked potato food truck. But here's what I'm thinking. All it is baked potatoes. But we got different toppings on different days. So we got one day, maybe we're doing taco toppings on top of a baked potato. It's something you could travel with. You put it in a nice, bowl, circular bowl, deep enough that you could drop the potato in there, put whatever toppings on that you want. You could walk in your hand, scoop it out with your fork. You're good to go. But here we go. We got tacos one day. We could go with, we could go pulled pork. We could go chili. You could go steak. You could go bacon cheese traditional. You could go sour cream and chive traditional. You could go short rib. You could throw anything on a potato. I think about it. Your options are endless here. So you're coming out of the bar, you're coming out of the dispensary. It's a late night. You might need a little fill me up with a little cheddar bacon baked potato. That you can just carry. You can eat it in the back of your Uber.
Nothing better to sop up some alcohol like a baked potato. Matt, little confession time here. I actually follow a TikTok page where there's like fast food. I don't know, like a fast food, but it's a restaurant, and they serve like gourmet baked potatoes. And I should have told you this before, but I'm in the middle of I have blood work I have to have done in the morning, so I'm in the middle of a fast. So I should have put a precursor that no one's allowed to talk about food because I can't eat till like 11 a.m. tomorrow, and I'm starving right now. So thanks. Now I'm even more thinking about Matt's delicious baked potatoes. Because God dang it, that sounds good, and that's genius. I'm just going to sip my no-calorie LaCroix here and pretend it's a baked potato. Anyway, my idea under the influence is because I did yard work all day. How have we not got to a point where we have like an all-in-one yard tool, like a hedge trimmer that's also a weed whacker, which also has a leaf blower on the other end that also has
a Swiss Army knife for your yard?
Yeah, that sounds very difficult.
I don't want to have to spend $150 for every new Ryobi tool that I need. Give me some sort of Swiss. I know we have the technology for it. Like, what are we doing? I'd easily pay $400 for something that, does 6 or 7 jobs as compared to having to buy 3. I have 3 different ones right now. I'm looking at a 4th and a 5th. Come on, guys, let's make this happen. All right.
Boomy, you should look into that because that sounds very difficult.
No, yeah, it's way over my head.
I feel like something like that's gonna break like frequently. It's just gonna be a big pile of shit because there's just too much going
or
on.
Kill me while I'm using it. I haven't quite figured that part out. But for
gashing yourself is a guarantee on something.
Another thing, I did have a second IUI, and this does kind of sort of relate to food. We have water dispensers in our fridges, built in. How do we not have some sort of like fountain soda dispenser built into fridges yet?
Because it would get all sticky.
No, you keep the lines clean, you keep the tip clean. It's got to be a way.
It ain't that easy, let me tell you.
There's a glimpse into Maddie's daily life. Anybody needs it? But how is it like if I want Diet Mountain Dew to dispense from my fridge? If I can dispense water, why can't I dispense Diet Mountain Dew?
I'm with Zach.
I'm out on that.
The cleanup would suck, dude. It would suck.
You can't keep
I want my soda.
I wouldn't want to.
I want the glass bottle with the aluminum cap. That's how I want my soda. Ice cold on that.
So much easier.
Not a sticky line.
Yeah.
You guys are dirty. You both are dirty. Let's move on to over-under. Like I said, I was doing some lawn care today, so I'm going to give you guys a couple different lawn care things that we do, and you guys tell me if they are overrated, underrated, or properly rated. And I will start with the most obvious one, and that is mowing.
I think it's properly
underrated. I think underrated.
I'm with Matt. I love mowing.
I love mowing too, but I mow a lot, so.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
You do it quite a bit more frequently than either of us. But the only downside to mowing, and that's when we'll get to it in a second, when you have to do the trim, or if you get into, you're moving along in the grass.
Allergies.
And your clothes get all dirty. But if your clothes get all dirty, you can go visit our friends at 26shirts.com Chicago. Pick up some new clothes that don't have grass trimmings all over them. And I'm wearing one right now. It's one of the most comfortable T-shirts I own. Got yours on too. You can't go wrong. They fit great. They've got, they look great. 26shirts.com/Chicago. They've got shirts like we have on. They've got hats, hoodies, flags, whatever you need. Their proceeds go to help charitable organizations around the city. It's a win-win-win, okay? 26shirts.com/Chicago. Use promo code typical Chicago fans. Get rid of your old T-shirts that you've been using to mow the yard because you've got grass clippings and stains everywhere. You can go get some new stuff. 26shirts.com/Chicago. Promo code typical Chicago fans, 15% off your order. Go check them out. But I'm going to go with Matt here. I think that it is underrated. I love it. Put the headphones in. And like you said, Zecto, I only do it for maybe 2 hours a week. If I had to do it for more than that, I might be with you on the properly rated. Let's move on to the second part. Yeah. Weed eating. Overrated, underrated.
Overrated. It sucks.
Maddie?
Properly rated as it's trash. It's a trash activity.
It is. Could not be more overrated because, like I got to saying earlier, with the grass clippings and, you're always having to get more line. And I have one that's like it's a 2-in-1. It's an edger and a trimmer. And I literally have had this thing since Christmas, and I just figured out how today to change it from one to the other. It's only been 6 months. It only took 2 YouTube videos.
That's hilarious.
and I almost sliced my foot, but that's besides the point. But it is so overrated. It doesn't matter if you're doing the smallest thing, like if you're trying to do, just a little small spot, something is going to fly up and hit you in the face. It doesn't matter every time. Could not be more overrated. Maddie, any thoughts, any arguments against our hatred of weed eating?
Zero. Fully agreement, full concurrent, however you want to put it. Weed eating sucks.
All right, perfect. In the same vein, edging. Have you guys ever edged before? Not.
I don't think so. Maybe.
Come on.
Edge your yard. Edge your yard.
Oh, got it. Edge my yard. Yes.
Wait.
Let's see. I just didn't call it edging. Hail.
Properly rated.
Yeah, properly rated. Another trash activity. Lawn mowing's the only thing that's fun, and watering the grass and flowers. That's the only other thing that's like enjoyable.
I'm gonna go a tad underrated, just because I think if you do it right, I think it's just because I did it for the first time ever. I finally figured out that edger and weed eater. And
my God,
it's about time to move on, but it's slightly underrated because it looks really good at the end. Let's move on to our next one, our last one, and that is trimming the hedges.
Come on, you seriously?
Properly rated. We gotta move on. I can't do
it. You change it to hedges. You change it to hedges.
I can't control myself right now.
Yeah, I agree. Properly rated. Another trash activity.
Oh, I like it. I enjoy it. I enjoy trimming the hedges.
This is typical.
This is maybe the hardest I've ever laughed on the show. Oh, that was hilarious.
We're all in our, somewhere between 25 and 35, and we're act like we're 11 years old again, that we're hearing things for the first time. Jesus Christ, this is going off the rails. Let's move on.
Our place changes everything.
Absolutely. We should have known better. That's on me. I wrote these down. I should have known better. TCF top 3.
Know your audience, Boomy.
Yeah, it is what it is. People understand who we are. Our non-Chicago sports logo. So if you get pissed that in our top 3s we don't have the Bulls or the Bears or the Blackhawks, Cubs, Sox, whatever, it's because we've eliminated those. Those aren't even a possibility anymore. So to keep it fair.
And newsflash, I wouldn't have taken any of them anyway because none of them are that good of logos.
Blackhawks, maybe. I enjoy the Blackhawks one, but other than that,
on the white jersey,
yeah. All the other ones are. I like them. They are what they are, but they definitely don't, crack my top 5. That's for sure. Zach, you get the privilege of starting us off. First overall pick. Who do you got?
The Seattle Supersonics. I think that is an awesome logo.
That's 1-1 without a doubt. 1-1 without
especially with the green and yellow. I think it's awesome.
Now, are you going 80s?
The half. Yeah,
or are you going 90s?
The half basketball with the skyline, right, Zach?
Yes.
Okay. So
the Seattle Supersonics underneath. Yeah, the 80s one. That was the sick one, dude.
Even the 90s one was good.
With the Space Needle on it?
Yeah.
That's just a cool logo all around. Like, so the color kind of works with it.
Yeah,
green and yellow is just perfect.
No, actually,
I agree.
I take it back. That's an ugly color.
It was
you're not
in Seattle. Get out of here.
Matt, you get the second pick. Who are you got for your first choice?
I'm gonna go another retired logo, no longer in existence. I'm gonna go up to our friends in Canada. I'm gonna go to the Quebec Nordiques. That logo is absolutely dynamite. Half igloo, half hockey stick, all fire. Quebec Nordiques. They should have kept that in Colorado somehow. But
yeah, that was
Colorado does have They've got like a little piece on some of their alternate jerseys now, a little throwback to their Quebec days with some of the logo alterations, I guess, but not quite the old school or traditional Quebec logo. Dynamite unis they had.
Good choice. I'm going to stay up north in Canada, and like Zach said, a little old school. The Vancouver Grizzlies, the big bear with the outstretched arms. I love the color scheme. I don't know why the Grizzlies ever changed to blue and yellow. That one's dumb. Should have kept the teal and the red. Love that. I've always been a big fan, even though their white jerseys were good. But the bear with the basketball, can't go wrong. That's always been one of my favorites. My 2 pick, I am going to go. I got a couple choices here. I got to do it. Orlando Magic, the 90s one with the basketball is the O and the star. Those old pinstripe uniforms. I'm going to go with the 90s Magic ones. And they've done some really good job at bringing the pinstripes back, but there was something about the basketball and the star is that I think it was the L or either way. 90s Magic.
Is it Maddie?
Maddie.
Yeah, man. I don't know. There's so many good ones.
I know. I was looking up. You look up like top logos, top sports logos. It's just like a million of them.
They've gotten. I don't know. They've gotten worse in my opinion over the years.
Mm-hmm.
But
they've tried to change them so much.
Yeah, they've gotten too cute. I'm glad you said. I'm gonna go to a traditional old school one. And a lot of it has to do with the team's color scheme, the team's mentality, team's persona that their owner tried to give them for a long time, and that's the Oakland, now Las Vegas Raiders. I think the silver and black, the pirate, the swords, the eye patch, football helmet, all of it. I think it looks mean, it looks football, it looks awesome. Goes good on anything, on black, on white, on silver. I don't know. Good look, sharp logo, in my opinion.
It has remained largely untouched for a very long time.
Generally speaking, yeah, with minor tweaks here and there, I think is it. Like, Pantone's changed, maybe?
Yeah, maybe.
I'm going to get a little different here on my 2 picks. I'm going to go with the Hartford Whalers. I don't know if I've ever seen it.
I just bought a Hartford Whalers hat like a week ago.
It's got like the tail of a whale on there.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a mustache.
I love the color. The green and their blue. Those pop too with that logo. It's really sharp.
And then my last one is going to be very different. The Olympic logo. How simple was that?
Good choice.
5 circles.
Hey.
It's got to be the most recognizable sports logo in the world.
I think it's 5. It's like the 5 continents or whatever. I think is what what I looked up. But 5 circles.
Good choice. Solid choice. Like I said, it's the recognizability is limitless. You can go, some remote village and any continent, and they're probably going to know what it is.
Yeah, that's a great one. I don't know if I want to do this. A little bit of a harken back to my childhood. There's the logo I like then, and I want like the mid '90s version or the mid to early '90s version of it, as opposed to like the tweaks they've had since. But the original Charlotte Hornets logo, the Hornet itself, fucking sweet logo. Kind of looks like a badass little Hornet.
Great color scheme.
So I'm gonna go with great color scheme too, especially that if there was a color scheme and logo that screamed early and mid '90s, that was it. I'm gonna go with the Charlotte Hornets.
Great choice. And I loved how the NBA teams in like the mid '90s included like a basketball on all their logos. Like the old Raptors one, the Raptor was dribbling a basketball, and the Hornets one had a basketball in one hand, and the Grizzly had one. That was a cool touch that they were all adding that. And like you said, that just seems to keep going away.
Got a ton of honorable mentions I want to talk about too when you're done, Boomy.
I'm going to go the old Houston Oilers. Great color scheme. Baby blue and red. The old oil rig. Yeah, that's a classic one. So that's why I'm going to go with my NFL one. Let's hear some of your honorable mentions, Maddie.
The University of Miami, the U, just the green and orange U. I think it's solid. I think Carolina has a great logo. I'm not being biased there. Minnesota Twins, old one with the state of Minnesota outline, and then like the giant baseball on the top. It said Twins across it. I always like that one. Miami Dolphins, I think it's solid. The Dolphin with the
with or without the helmet
sun around it. You got to go helmet. You got to go with the helmet.
Football.
I think, in my opinion.
It's a football Dolphin.
Yeah, it's football. Come on, that's not so.
Not some regular ass Dolphin. It's a football Dolphin.
Yeah, New York Mets logo is pretty cool.
I was gonna say the same one.
Yeah, I kind of like theirs. Zach, what do you got? You got to have some extra ones. I know that.
Not really, no.
Detroit Red Wings. I hate the Red Wings, but the Wings.
Yeah, that's a classic. Cool logo.
I think the Celtics have a cool logo.
Celtics do have a good logo. They absolutely do.
Lucky Larry or whatever his name is. I was a big fan of.
I think it's just Lucky.
I like the Orioles logo, but I'm always torn because, like, I think they went through a phase where they literally just had an Oriole on their hat.
Just
but then
the bird.
Yeah. I always like just the bird more, but orange and black on the even the cartoon one looks good. For some reason, I was a big fan of the Angels back in like maybe early 2000s, where they had the light blue and the dark blue and the red. That was a good logo. And the old Pirates one with the actual portrait of a pirate on like the diamond where it said Pirates cross top. That was always one of my favorites. Any others that we missed?
80s Denver Nuggets.
Yeah.
Similar to the Sonics with the half globe, half basketball skyline was cool. The mountains.
Definitely. We could go on with this for hours, but that was episode 103. Make sure you head to 26shirts.com/Chicago. Use promo code Typical Chicago Fans for a shirt like me and Zach both have on tonight. They're comfortable. They fit great. They look great. You can't go wrong. Use promo code Typical Chicago Fans for 15% off of your order. Make sure you head over to Twitter. Follow us on the main page at typical_Chicago. Check us out on Facebook and Instagram. You can head over to our YouTube page as well. Subscribe there for all the content in video form. Apple Podcasts, make sure you subscribe, rate, and review. Follow us on Spotify, Spreaker, Google Podcasts, wherever you find your podcasts, we are there. But make sure to follow us all on Twitter, and that is Zach at Z, Alilia TCF, Maddie at schools_01, and me at Boomy TCF. Thank you for joining us for episode 103 of Typical Chicago Fans. We love you all.
Peace.